In the bustling city of Lagos, where the rich and poor coexist side by side, lived Kioma, a woman blessed with everything a person could wish for: wealth, a successful husband named Emeka, and a grand home in the heart of Lagos. But as they say, not all that glitters is gold. Behind the gilded gates of her grand home, she was childless. Despite 10 years of marriage, her home was devoid of the one thing she longed for the most: the laughter of a child. Each day, Kioma would wake up in her luxurious bed, surrounded by the finest things money could buy. Yet as she roamed the vast empty halls of her home, the silence was deafening. Emeka, ever the supportive husband, tried to fill the void with gifts: designer clothes, diamonds, vacations to far off lands. But Kioma's heart remained heavy. Every evening she would sit by the window, staring out at the busy streets of Lagos, her thoughts far away, lost in a world where she could hold her own child in her arms. Desperation drives people to strange places, and for Kioma, it drove her to a part of Lagos she would never have imagined herself: Amama Street. Amama Street was a far cry from the clean, orderly neighborhoods Kioma was used to. It was dusty, crowded, and chaotic, a place where the struggles of life were laid bare. But it was here, amid the noise and grime, that Kioma found herself drawn, time and again. Her sleek black SUV would pull up to the corner of the street, far enough to keep her hidden from prying eyes. Across the street sat Amara, a mad woman, heavily pregnant and alone. Her hair was a tangled mess, her clothes tattered and dirty, but her eyes held a depth that Kioma couldn't ignore. In Amara's pain, Kioma saw a reflection of her own, a longing for something just out of reach. Every day, Kioma would leave a meal for Amara, a silent offering to a woman who had nothing, hoping to ease her suffering just a little. And every day she would retreat to her car, her heart heavy with an unspoken sorrow, her mind filled with questions she couldn't quite answer. Each time Kioma visited Amara, her heart pounded with fear. What if someone saw her? What if Emeka found out? But something kept pulling her back to Amama Street, to the mad woman who seemed to be a mirror of her own hidden pain. One night, Kioma had a dream so vivid it felt real. In the dream, she was standing on a busy road, a baby crying out in the middle of the street. Cars whizzed by, oblivious to the tiny, helpless figure. Kioma rushed forward, her heart pounding, as she scooped the baby into her arms, just as a car sped towards them. But when she looked down, the baby was gone, vanished into thin air. Kioma woke up with a start, her breath ragged, her heart racing. The dream lingered in her mind, unsettling her in ways she couldn't explain. She knew she had to go back to Amama Street. It was as if something or someone was calling her there, urging her to keep going. So, under the cover of night, Kiome drove through the dimly lit streets of Lagos, her mind racing as fast as her car. She parked at the familiar corner of Amama Street, her heart pounding as she stepped out. And there she found Amara, in the throes of labor, writhing on the filthy pavement, alone and terrified. Fear gripped Kioma as she watched Amara, her screams echoing in the night. But in that moment, a distant memory of her late mother surfaced. Her mother, a skilled midwife, guiding young women through childbirths with steady hands and a calm heart. Kioma's fear melted away, replaced by a determination she hadn't felt in years. She knelt beside Amara, her hands moving with confidence and care, as if guided by her mother's spirit. She spoke softly to Amara, her voice soothing as she helped bring a new life into the world. The cries of a newborn filled the night air, a baby girl, tiny and fragile, but alive and well. Kyoma's heart swelled with a love she had never known as she gazed into the baby's eyes. Amara, exhausted and delirious, lay motionless on the ground, her eyes unfocused. Kioma wrapped the baby in her fine Ankara cloth, her hands trembling with emotion. She looked around. There was no one there, just her, the baby, and the stillness of the night. She knew what she was about to do was wrong, but the pull was too strong to resist. With a final glance at Amara, Kioma turned and walked away, cradling the baby in her arms, naming her Adaeze, daughter of the king. Chioma returned home with Adaeze, her heart racing as she stepped inside. Emeka was waiting, his face a mix of confusion and anger. Chioma, whose baby is this? He demanded, his voice edged with disbelief. Kioma, her hands shaking, told him everything, the mad woman, the labor, the baby. Emeka's expression turned from shock to fury. You've brought trouble into our home, he shouted. But as his gaze shifted to Adaze's innocent face, his anger softened. The couple stood in their grand silent home, the weight of this new life between them. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Adaze brought joy and laughter into Kioma and Emeka's once quiet home. The sound of tiny footsteps, the soft coos and giggles of a baby filled the empty spaces that had once echoed with silence. For the first time in years, Kioma felt a sense of completeness, a joy she had long thought impossible. But even as Adaeze grew, Kioma couldn't shake the guilt that gnawed at her heart. She couldn't forget Amara, the mad woman she had taken Adaeze from. In her dreams, Kioma was haunted by shadows of the life she had stolen, whispers that echoed through her mind. Every time Kioma watched Adaeze play, the guilt tightened its grip. She had tried to bury it, to move on, but the memories were relentless. She saw Amara in every shadow, felt her presence in every quiet moment. Emeka noticed the change in Kioma, how she would stare off into the distance, lost in thought, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. He tried to comfort her, but Kioma's sorrow was a burden she carried alone. She couldn't bring herself to tell Emeka how deeply the guilt had rooted itself in her heart. One day, as Kioma absent-mindedly flipped through television channels, she froze. On the screen was a familiar face, Amara, no longer the mad woman of Amara Street, but a composed, somber figure speaking to a reporter. Amara spoke of her journey, how she had lost her mind after the tragic death of her husband, how she had wandered the streets, pregnant and alone, how she had given birth one night on a cold, dirty pavement, only to wake up and find her child gone. The camera zoomed in on Amara's face, tears glistening in her eyes as she spoke of the pain of not knowing if her daughter was dead or alive. Kioma's heart shattered all over again. She had robbed Amara of her chance to be a mother, to find peace, to heal. The weight of her secret was too much to bear. That night, Kioma sat Emeka down and told him everything. As she spoke, her voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. Emeka listened in stunned silence, his mind struggling to process the depth of what Kioma had done. When she finished, there was a long, heavy silence between them. Emeka was torn. He loved Adaeze as his own, but he knew they had to do what was right. Together, they contacted the television station, explaining their story, and were given Amara's contact information. With heavy hearts, they prepared to face the consequences of their choices. Kioma and Emeka stood outside Amara's modest home. Adaeze clutching Kioma's hand, her young face filled with curiosity. The door opened, and there stood Amara, her eyes wide with shock, as she gazed at the little girl she had dreamed of for so long. Tears streamed down Amara's face as she fell to her knees, pulling Adaze into her arms. She sobbed with a mix of overwhelming joy and deep sorrow, whispering over and over, "I prayed for you every day." Kioma watched, her heart aching, as Amara cradled the daughter she thought she had lost forever. Through choked tears, Kioma told Amara everything, the night she had watched her from afar, the moment she decided to take Adaze, and the guilt that had haunted her ever since. Amara listened, her face a mixture of pain and understanding. For a long time, the three adults stood there in silence, united by the complex emotions of love, regret, and forgiveness. Amara's eyes, though filled with tears, shone with a resilience that spoke of the strength of a mother's heart. As they stood on the threshold of this new chapter, Amara and Kioma made a silent promise to each other. They would do what was best for Adazi, no matter the cost to themselves. And so they agreed that while Adazi would return to live with Amara, Kioma and Emeka would remain a part of her life, bridging the gap between two families that fate had entwined so deeply. In the months that followed, Adais moved in with Amara, bringing light and laughter to her mother's once quiet home. Amara and Kioma worked together to make the transition as smooth as possible, understanding that their love for Adais was the bond that would hold them together. And just when it seemed like their hearts could not hold any more joy, Kioma discovered she was pregnant, not with one, but two children. The news spread like wildfire, and for the first time in her life, Kioma felt a happiness that was complete. Kioma gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and the once silent halls of her home were filled with the joyful cries of new life. Yet her love for Adaise never waned. Adaise became a cherished part of both families, her laughter echoing through the homes of her two mothers, her presence a reminder of the choices that had brought them all together. In every visit, every shared moment, Kioma and Amara found healing and a deeper understanding of what it means to be family. But Koma's journey to redemption wasn't without its challenges. Despite the joy of her new family, the memories of her past choices often resurfaced, bringing with them the familiar pangs of guilt and doubt. She struggled to forgive herself, to believe that she truly deserved the happiness she now held. It was Emeka who stood by her side, reminding her that every step she took was one of courage and love. He often told her, "Forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past, but accepting that it has shaped who you are today." One afternoon, as Kioma sat with Amara, watching a Daisy play with her new siblings, she finally felt a sense of peace. She turned to Amara and said, "I'm so sorry for everything. I can never undo what I did, but I promise to be there for you and Adais, always." Amara smiled, her eyes soft and understanding. "We can't change the past, Kioma, but we can choose how we move forward. And we have each other now. That's all that matters." From that day on, Kioma, Emeka, and Amara built a new kind of family. They celebrated birthdays together, supported one another through hardships, and found joy in the simple moments. They became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unbreakable bonds of love that can form in the most unexpected ways. And so ends the story of Chioma, Emeka, and Amara, a tale that reminds us that the path to redemption is never easy, but it is always worth it. It shows us that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that lead to the greatest blessings. and that love in all its forms has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. This story is a testament to the strength of forgiveness, the courage to make things right, and the beauty of new beginnings. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. What would you have done in Kyoma's shoes? Could you make such a sacrifice for the sake of another's happiness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories from the heart of Africa. Until next time, remember to cherish the ones you love and always strive to do what's right, no matter how difficult it may be. Goodbye for now, and may peace and love be with you.